the Granite Plateau. So I thought that was interesting. So that's pretty much covers it. The bridging between Gears 1 and 2. And now Gabe, our main man over here, is going to take us into Gears 2.
Thank you very much, Craig. You are like the caulk gun in this relationship. You fill the gaps between the main segments, and thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk some Gears of War 2, man. This is the game I probably spent the most time in regards to the Gears of War series. I love it. But let's not get quite into opinions yet. We're going to save that for last. So, following the success of Gears of War 1, the highly anticipated sequel, Gears of War 2, was released November 7th, 2008, almost exactly 2 years to the date of the release of Gears of War 1. So, Gears of War 2 utilized an updated version of the Unreal 3 engine. Now, let's talk some story, because this game is so damn meaty, you're going to need a Lancer to slice through it.
Oh, this guy.
I'm making funnies. All right, so opening act. The Locust Queen Mira explains the Pendulum Wars, and it leads into a summary of the past 15 years of the Locust War. Now, if you don't know about the Pendulum Wars, check out the first episode.
Do a deep dive.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So Jacinto is set up as the last safe haven for humanity. We find Dom, Marcus, and Anya are located at the Jacinto Medical Center, where a horde of locusts begins their attack. The group splits up. Marcus and Dom encounter Ty Caliso, which Marcus knew since they fought alongside each other in the Pendulum Wars.
Badass guy.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. After the Gears fight their way out of the hospital, Chairman Prescott gathers the Gears and gives a speech about how the Locusts have survived the light mass bomb and have amassed a power that can sink cities. Hint, hint, Riftworm. So this is what the speech essentially covers. So it's essentially do or die for humanity at this point, and it's the last option. The last option is an all-out attack on the Hollow. So the plan was to utilize derricks, or these massive escort trucks, to the Locust-occupied city of Landown, and use the grind lifts to drill down into the Hollow. So at this point, we get the introduction of another great side character, Dizzy Wallen, who drives Rig 314, a.k.a. Betty. So the Locust forces tried to stop the derricks, but they only managed to destroy a few mobile units. The Gears troops press onwards, and the Locusts attack once more, this time with the help of Scourge. So, Scourge, one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise, he is the leader of the Cantus. So, Scourge is a 7-foot-tall high Cantus priest. He's 7-foot-tall high, and he's also high priest.
He built for no reason.
He built like Cthulhu. So, he has a tentacle garb hanging from his head and sports a dual chainsaw staff in addition to the assortment of Gorgon weaponry. So, he has a Gorgon bolt-lock rifle and a Gorgon pistol. I'm sorry, a Gorgon hammerlock rifle. That's what it was.
Yeah, and, what in the better way to, amass Locust forces and to arm them well than to give them a dual chainsaw staff?
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere, man. This is probably the first instance of a creative, essentially chainsaw, but a creative melee weapon for a boss fight, and absolutely phenomenal choice for that. And it fits his character well.
I can get into 2 Lancer chainsaw fights.
Yeah, right. He's this kind of slender Darth Maul looking character, but like I said, he's super tall. He kind of built. He could jump high, and man, he pilots some weird shit in this game. Yeah. So Dizzy and Scourge do battle. Ty leaves his grind lift to help Dizzy out. Dom and Marcus watch their comrades fight as they descend into the Hollow. So let's talk Act 2. Act 2 is entitled Denizens. Marcus and Dom regroup with Ben Carmine, who is a running joke at this point. All the Carmines are. And they continue their descent into the Hollow. Delta Squad soon finds the cause of the Locust power, a riftworm that is capable of sinking entire cities. So Scourge, commanding the riftworm, sinks the city of Ilima. Ilima? Say it however you will. Tomato. The plan was to sink cities around Jacinto as to eventually sink Jacinto itself. Delta Squad fights through the sunken city of Ilima, looking for survivors along the way. They walk right into an ambush set by the Locust forces. Surprise, motherfucker. Only to be saved by the one and only Cole fucking Train.
It's go time, baby.
It's go time. All right. So, Cole informs Delta that his jumpmate Baird has gone missing. So Delta pushes through and finds Baird locked in a metal holding cell. Baird informs Delta Squad that the Locusts are capturing and torturing humans, and so Baird joins Delta and they push forward towards the Beast Barge. Upon exploring the Beast Barge, they find Ty, who they met earlier, who has been tortured by Locust forces. And at this point, Marcus hands Ty a Gnasher to fend for himself, but Ty takes his own life from the mental and emotional damages he suffered during his capture.
I just want to say this cutscene put such a heavy toll on me, because Ty was this big, nice, lovable hunk from the Southern Islands. And he just offs himself. That's how you know the Locusts fuck you up.
Yeah, man, it was really sad. I didn't, because, when they presented his character in the beginning, he seemed like a total badass, nothing can get to
badass,
this
but
dude
philosophical.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was they entitled him like a spiritual warrior.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But yeah, this scene was absolutely brutal when it popped up because it came right out of the blue.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff. Well,
done.
terrible stuff.
Medium stuff.
Medium stuff. Delta returns to the Lima sinkhole where they are picked up by a king raven. The riftworm appears and, due to falling debris, knocks Ben Carmine out of the raven and knocks the king raven off course. And the riftworm swallows both.
I just want to say it was totally Ben's fault because he had to be commando and get shot in the shoulder trying to defend Delta Squad.
It'd be like that, man. And
he totally just held that raven up.
The Carmine suffer a fate like no other. Really,
They do have an insurance company.
Yeah, Carmine Insurance. Grab some while you can. So they get swallowed. Delta survives the swallowing, and then Ben Carmine's body is found and is being dissolved by acid and eaten by creatures that live inside the riftworm's belly. Marcus then decides to stop the riftworm from doing any more damage, and he cuts the arteries leading into the riftworm's 3 hearts. Delta kills the riftworm and saws through its flesh to escape. There's nothing like waking up in the morning just sawing your way through a giant fucking earthworm, huh?
Too much blood.
Too much blood? I don't know, man. Some people like to shower. Some people like to run in the morning. Some people do both. Me, personally, I like to get swallowed by an Alaskan bullworm and just kick my way out.
Yeah.
Any comments on that?
You like your worms, man.
All right, let's get into Act 3, Gathering Storm. Delta is sent to the New Hope's research facility, which had information on the location of Nexus. Now, Nexus is a Locust stronghold, and it is the location of the Locust Queen. Marcus and Dom push into the facility that is seemingly abandoned. After making their way through the self-active security system, they encounter Sires. Sires are a half-Locust, half-human hybrid, and after killing waves and waves of Sires, this group escapes with the whereabouts of Nexus, which was Mount Kadar. On Mount Kadar, the group drives over ice lakes, fights off hordes of locusts, kill 3 corpsers and 2 Brumoks, and they run into the leader of the stranded named Chap. Chap, fun fact, is the owner of the Aspo gas station from Gears 1. So, Chap informs Dom that Maria, a.k.a. Dom's wife, was captured by the Locusts, and so this gives Dom an urgency to press forward. On the way to Nexus, Marcus and Dom encounter the Leviathan, which resides in the lake surrounding Nexus. Marcus kills it by tossing grenades down its mouth. I mean, what other way are you going to kill one, right?
You kind of look like you.
Yeah. The Leviathan?
Yeah, you got hella eyes.
All right, Act 4, Hive. Once inside, Dom convinces Marcus to help look for Maria instead of pressing deeper into the Nexus. The two find Maria, who has been tortured to no end. In a moment of bittersweet reunion, Dom decides to euthanize her. Another powerful moment in the Gears series.
Yeah, since Dom totally thought she would look normal, so that kind of clouded his visions. And then when they revealed her face, how it actually looked, I was like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, and it was a really kind of terrible
so sad. Yeah, man. Like, you knew what was coming.
And especially because Dom has been working towards this goal since Gears 1.
Yeah, he's been going up to stranded camps, and you know how the stranded hate the COG, and he's like, "Hey, have you seen this, chick named Maria?" And the stranded probably feel bad, but they still call him a shithead for being in part of the COG.
Yeah, that's just the way war works sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
So pushing further, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention something. There is a additional mission if you have the All Fronts version of the game. And so it allows you to play what Marcus's original plan was, which was sneaking into the Nexus dressed as Theron guards, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, I actually like that.
Good stuff. So Marcus and Dom, I forgot a point. Pushing further into the Nexus, the two set up and deploy the Jack beacons, which give the gears on the surface an accurate location of where to drill. Marcus and Dom here learn the true meaning behind the Locust Queen Mira's plan. So, the Locusts are engaged in a civil war with the Lambent, which are locusts mutated by emulsion. Mira's plan consists of evacuating the regular locusts to the surface and wiping the Lambent by flooding the hive with the sinking of Jacinto. She wanted to make sure that the regular locusts were evacuated before she sank the city and thus distracted the COG with their surface fighting. Here the Locust Queen mentions that she knows Adam Phoenix, and before she can elaborate, she orders Scourge to attack. And this is one of my favorite boss fights. I am a total Scourge fanboy.
You actually like that boss fight?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun.
I kind of thought it was a little lackluster.
Lackluster?
I don't know, that's just me.
You a little lackluster.
Man, who the hell are you talking to?
Cole and Bear pursue Mira. Marcus and Dom fight off Scourge before he escapes on a Hydra. Now we're in the final act of Gears of War 2. Delta hijacks 2 Reavers in order to reach Jacinto. On the way, there they encounter other Locusts on Reavers and Scourge on his Hydra. Delta kills the Hydra, causing Scourge to fall and killing him in the process. The crew reaches Jacinto and are informed by Colonel Hoffman that there is a new objective: to sink the city of Jacinto just how the Locusts wanted. Marcus and Dom go to clear the path for the Ravens while Baird and Cole stay behind for the Lightmass bomb preparations. In the Jacinto sinkhole, Marcus and Dom pilot a Brumach and fight their way into an assortment of aerial enemies, including Reavers, Cedars, Nemesis, a Corpser, and a Beast Barge. The Brumach slowly starts to glow, signaling that it's mutating into a Lambent. So Delta Squad utilizes the Hammer of Dawn to make the Brumach explode. This caused an explosion with a shockwave powerful enough to sink the city of Jacinto and flood the hive, indiscriminately killing Lambent and Locust. And then we get this kind of somber moment, the last cutscene, and the final narration reads this, and this is word for word. Your world could end in the blink of an eye. One event, one expected twist of fate, and suddenly, the world as you knew it was gone forever. All that you held dear and all that you held close was washed away in the sea of distant memory. Life was cruel, of this I have no doubt, but life continues on with or without you. One could only hope that one left a lasting legacy behind, but so often, the legacies that we left behind are not the ones we intended. Locust Queen Mira.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love her intro narrations, and I love the outro narrations. I love that. It sets up such a beautiful scene, and it ends it on such this bittersweet note where you know the end is near, but you also know that there's a lot of shit they have to plow through in between, and it's going to be nasty, and it's going to be ugly. So, in addition to an amazing plot, improved graphics, and updated Unreal 3 engine, there were some changes to the gameplay of Gears of War 2. So there was the ability to crawl away when you were downed instead of being this helpless being. In addition to that, they added the martyrdom ability. So if somebody was running up on you and you were downed, you could drop a grenade. However, it was timed, so it was not as easy as just plopping it down. You had to kind of time it with you.
Didn't you also have to have the frag grenade equipped?
I believe so, yeah. Right off the bat, you had a frag grenade equipped. And then, in addition to that, AI bots were added to open multiplayer slots, so you'd always, quote-unquote, have a full game of whatever you were playing, which I thought was a fun addition.
Yeah.
Having that full stack is always great. And granted, sometimes these bots aren't the best players because they're bots.
Yeah, they can still body you.
Yeah, they could still body you. Absolutely. Good stuff. So that was the meat and potatoes of Gears of War 2. I'm going to hand...
I just want to say something about
Gears
of War 2 real quick. The fact, like, how they have the crawling animation, do you ever notice how, like, fast enemies actually get down? Like, you never actually kill someone. They always get down. You ever find that annoying in story mode?
Especially in multiplayer.
It's like you're on your last mag, you're firing your couple last bullets.
And then he crawls behind some cover.
And some dude revives him. That was, like, the most annoying thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a core mechanic of Gears of War and actually most third-person, first-person shooters out there. But I felt like it was abundant in Gears of War 2. So it was usually get a frag kill, get a hammer down kill, get a Nasher kill, and it's an instant death. You know that. But every time the Lancer was out and about, if you didn't get consistent headshots with it, it was you are down and you better go chase that dude because you're not going to get points for your kill.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, take me through the journey that is Gears of War 3.
So I just want to kind of set up the whole Gears of War 3 up, how when it came out.
Yeah, we do have a 15-year or 15-year gap between 2 and 3.
No, 3 came out in 2011.
No, I meant in the Gears of War timeline.
Oh, in the Gears of War timeline.
Oh. Somebody didn't do their research.
What, you wanted me to go through the timeline?
Nah, man, don't worry about it. Just talk to me about Gears 3.
Gears 3? All right. So Gears 3, I just want to set it up that it came out on September 20th, 2011, which is the release date. Continue using the Unreal Engine. And I want to kind of just say a little bit of a tidbit. So the the lead writer for the story of the game was Karen Travis. And if you're not familiar with her, she is the writer for the Gears of War novels as well as some of the Star Wars novels. Beautiful woman. Amazing writer. Definitely go check her out if you have any time.
She did, the Republic Commando novels? Or
the 501st.
501st novels. Close enough.
Yeah. But, yeah, she did the novels. Go check her out whenever you have free time. But, yeah, she was the lead writer for the story of this game. But at least a lot of people actually didn't like the Gears 3 story, but they loved the books. So I thought that was a little bit interesting, how she actually, had some say in the game.
I think it's the same like situation with a movie where one could love the source material, and then when they see it on screen, it doesn't live up to what they were expecting. Although I do think personally that Gears of War 3 had a great story and had a great conclusion and awesome gameplay. That's just the nature of the beast sometimes. You're going to have your haters out there. You're going to have your people that are going to stick to where it came from, and they're going to die by it.
Yeah. And then before Gears of War 3 actually came out, you remember the Save Carmine campaign?
I don't actually. What was it?
So, since the running joke of the Carmines with Anthony and Benjamin, they both die. They actually had another Carmine brother, and in this game, the audience had a choice. Like they had a say in what Carmine's fate was, and I think they had to like tweet something or do hashtags or whatever. So it's either hashtag Save Carmine or Have Carmine Die, and they had a bunch of merch and stuff like that. But this actually was kind of cool because it actually solidified the outcome of what would happen in this Gears Wars, Carmine.
Kind of like audience participation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good stuff. I love it when writers
now
get.
I want to get into the Gears of War 3 story. So you start off on the CNV Sovereign, which is a ship, and at this time the COG are not the COG anymore. After the sinking of Jacinto, the COG were pretty much disbanded. Prescott went missing. If you want a little TLDR of what happened between 2 and 3, the COG pretty much swam to an island. They found a bunch of survivors that didn't know what the hell was going on in the world, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this is what happened." And the survivors were like, "Yo, bro, that's kind of shitty." So they kind of held up on that island, and the stranded were there too. They pretty much run amok. The island was attacked by the Lambent because they started coming up onto the surface, and then the COG set sail on their ship, which was the CNV Sovereign, and then Prescott went missing. So that's where we are here now. But you start off on this ship, and you're kind of making your rounds, just doing the same thing. Dom's in his tomato garden, dicking about, and the ship gets attacked by a Leviathan. This whole battle ensues, and a mysterious force drops like these explosive barrels onto Leviathan, and you don't know what that is, which is where it cuts over to Cole, Baird, Sam, and Clayton Carmine on a different mission because their squad were searching for supplies in a stranded camp, and they were in the hometown of Coltrane, Cole, and they were going through this camp looking for supplies, and they go through stranded camps, and Carmine actually has his first close encounter to death where he gets sniped by a sniper from one of the stranded. And that was a little, close call from there. But they go through the stranded camps. They go to I like this part. They go to the football arena where a bunch of stranded were held up. Coltrane was noticed by them. The Lambent attacked, and then Coltrane had somewhat of a somber moment of actually remembering what he used to do back in Thrashball. Once they got through the Lambent-infested stadium, they go onto the bridge where they then meet the Savage Locusts. They go onto the bridge, they find the explosive barrels, and they take out the Leviathan, helping out Marcus and the ship. Then in Act 2, Cole and Bear need to link up with Marcus' squad, so they fight their way through the wreckage of the CNV Sovereign, encountering Savage Locusts along the way. They find the rest of the squad and relink, encounter a Brumac, and then Prescott succumbs to his injuries from the sinking of the CNV Sovereign before handing a Marcus a disc with Adam Phoenix's secrets where he was located. They don't know actually what it says, but Prescott just basically said, meet up with Hoffman, he's at Anvil's Gate. So they start walking through the Badlands and fight through more Savage Locusts to get to Anvil's Gate, and they use a gas barge as a mode of transportation, these big kind of stinking locusts that pretty much were airships. And Queen Mira and her Tempest, which is this giant moth thing, begin attacking you while you're airborne on the gas barge alongside her palace guards. After the fight, they see a bunch of other barges. Marcus and his squad see a bunch of barges attacking an outpost, and surprise, Dizzy radios Marcus to help him out. You fight your way over to him, defend the outpost until everyone escapes on the gas barge over to Anvil Gate. Marcus notices a large group of locusts amassing towards Anvil Gate while they are on the barge. When he tries to warn the fort, Mira and her Tempest shoot down the gas barge, and Marcus and his crew crash land into the plain near Anvil's Gate. And this moves over to Act 3, where Marcus and his team are rescued by Hoffman and brought back to Anvil's Gate, where they are prepared to defend the fortress from the oncoming locust onslaught. Once the enemy reaches the position, the battle ensues, and the former COG were able to hold back the locust onslaught until the Lambent come into play. Once the Lambent appear, Sam and Anya are outside of the fort battling both Locust and Lambent. Marcus goes to rescue both of them, and everyone retreats back into the fort. Then, surprise, surprise, a Lambent berserker spawns and jumps into the battle. A huge battle ensues trying to take down the raging beasts, and then he was finally defeated by Marcus's team. At this point, Marcus and his squad needed to split up. So Marcus, Dom, Jace, and a few others joined Marcus to find a functioning COG submarine, while Cole, Baird, and Carmine are tasked with finding reinforcements. I'm going to go through the Marcus storyline right now because that goes through with the game, and I'll talk about what happened with Cole and Baird later on. Marcus and his team hop into rat trucks, which are these kind of ratty trucks that the well, I guess the name rat trucks. They use the cog use a kind of a mode of transportation, and they speed their way down, mowing down locusts and lambent alike until they reach the town of Mercy to refuel, where there was a giant emulsion pandemic. Later, the group realized that humans, now called farmers, were being infected by the lambent due to the town of Mercy being overridden with lambent and just sitting on top of an emulsion reserve. Delta then link up with the remaining stranded in the town, and they lead Delta to the refueling station, where they are ambushed by locusts and more lambent forces. Here, Delta are in a tight spot, but here's at this point of the game where it gets sad. Dom sacrifices himself to save the team by ramming a truck into the refueling line, ultimately killing himself and every enemy that was at the station. And this scene tugged so hard at my heart, especially since beforehand he visited Maria's grave, because that was, the hometown where Maria lived. So
Yeah, absolutely sad moment. Gears of War packs a punch with these things.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff.
It was insane. Yeah. So then leading on into Act 4, after the team arrived to the town of Char, which was a town that was hit when Prescott ordered the Hammer of Dawn strikes to wipe out the Locust forces earlier in the war, the team meet Aaron Griffin, who was the leader of the stranded there and hated all COG forces. He had Marcus's team fetch a missing shipment of emulsion in trade to release Dizzy, who Aaron Griffin has kidnapped. On their way back with the emulsion, the team is kidnapped by Locust forces and Queen Mira. Once they reach the second tower, the only humans still alive inside the tower were Aaron Griffin and Dizzy. Essentially, killing the Locusts, and I believe there was also Lambent, killed off every other survivor and the stranded. So I thought that was kind of brutal. After this, the team make their way over to the Endeavor Naval Shipyard to find a functional COG submarine. Once the team find a submarine, after fighting through Locust forces, Dizzy informs them that the submarine is going to need 2 fuel rods to get going because it's an old piece of shit COG tech, and yeah, they stand up, but they just guzzle fuel. And so Delta then fights their way through more Locust forces, encountering savage armored Cantuses and Centipedes, which are these annoying armored centipedes that you have to shoot in the ass to pretty much kill them, and don't even get me started on the armored Cantuses, to recover the 2 fuel rods. Once they obtain them, Delta are off on their way to Azura in a submarine where they encounter Manglers and another Leviathan, as well as COG mines that are preventing anyone from entering Azura. And in the 5th and final act, Marcus and his squad arrive at Azura, which their first objective is to shut down the Maelstrom device to allow for reinforcements that Baird, Cole, and Carmine were tasked with finding to invade the island since it was overrun with locusts at the time. Marcus and his squad battle locusts and are successful in shutting down the device. The second objective was to rescue Adam Phoenix from captivity of the locusts, but the path was filled with locusts and later Lambent, as well as the arrival of Queen Mira. Once the team find Adam Phoenix in a room next to the hallway filled with the dead Onyx guards tasked to protect the society of Azura, the team needed to deactivate the emulsion countermeasure weapon, but Mira wasn't going to allow that to happen. A battle between Delta and Mira ensued, which resulted in Mira's pet moth beast Thresher thing to die and for Adam to activate his device. Unfortunately, Adam injected himself with lambency to see the progression it had in a human host, which led to his death since his cells were already mutated enough for the device to affect him. Every locust and lambent fell, but the locusts were encased inside a hard shell when they quote-unquote dropped dead. And I like this battle at the end, especially since you had another Carmine scare where he came through with the King Raven and was shot at by Mira's Tempest, which then the King Raven was shot down. But then at the end, it was revealed that he still lived. And not only that, but the way Marcus just stabbed Maria with, I believe it was Mira with Dom's commando knife and just said this was for fucking Dom, that just solidified the whole, Gears 3 series. Like the whole series, the whole series, yeah.
Absolute crowning moment. Cherry on the top of the Gears of War 3 story.
Yeah. And then, before I mentioned the Baird, Cole, and Carmine adventure, which was when Marcus and his squad were on their way to the town of Mercy, Baird, Cole, and Carmine were tasked with finding additional bodies to help with the invasion of Azura. Baird and his team head over to Halvo Bay, which was a town overrun by the Locusts before the events of the first Gears of War. And Baird has history of his town because this is where he got demoted from lieutenant to private for issuing the light mass missile to try to kill Karn. There he made an old squad mate, Paddock. Once they rendezvous with Paddock, who promised the team a ship they can use to sail to Azura, they start making their way over to the ship, noticing that it's lodged into the bay due to a tidal wave that pushed the ship to Halvo from the Jacinto sinking. The team needed to find a way to get the ship unstuck, so they started huffing it over there, encountering savage locust resistance and lambents along the way. When the squad make it to the ship, they are attacked by a group of former, which almost overrun them. But they were able to signal a King Raven that was occupied by Paddock's people that were located across the other side of the city. To get the ship back on water, they find explosives in a police station and plant them on the hotel support beams that the ship was stuck on. The explosives failed, so Baird improvised by turning 3 gas valves and lighting the place up with a grenade, which freed the ship. Baird then explained his plan to Paddock, hoping he would join, but Paddock needed to find an old friend, Sophia, who was another person in Baird's old squad, since a group of Gears kidnapped her, which just increased his hatred of the COG, since Pad was already a former UIR and was pretty much a veteran of the Pendulum Wars. Baird then takes the other Goraznians and started making his way to Azura, which that was the reinforcements that Marcus and his squad were looking for.
You mean Space Russians?
Space Russians, pretty much, yeah, with their Marxes and whatnot.
Good stuff. You got any more material to cover?
Yeah, actually I do. So I just want to say where we are at the end of Gears 3. Since the end of the Locust War and Lambent invasion, the human population dropped to the hundreds of thousands, very low. After the war, COG forces would dump the remains of the Locusts into mass graves across the Saren landscape. The COG reformed and, along with an army in a form of militias, established city-states around Sera. Outside the walls of the city-states, bands of Sarans formed into clans and other close-knit groups calling themselves the Outsiders, living outside of COG law and would openly raid COG territory for supplies. Son of legendary war hero Marcus Phoenix, JD Phoenix, joined the COG militia and would go AWOL during the rise of the Swarm and a new threat, which was a new threat to the human race. So I just wanted to leave that off where we're
good stuff.
Going on.
You think all those locust bodies made like good fertilizer, like mulch?
Maybe. I mean, those crystals are pretty damn hard. You could probably use it as rub the dingleberries off your booty hole.
Oh boy, that sounds painful and inappropriate.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So,
yeah.
What do you think about Gears of War, man? As within all the games we covered, do you think that Microsoft knew that this game was going to be a smash hit?
I think they took their chances with it, especially with that $1 billion deal. I'm pretty sure they just said, you know what? I mean, it's got gore. People are looking for gore. We have too many lighthearted titles on Xbox at this moment. Why not just take something that's completely out of the ordinary and just go with it?
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not a hater, but you can't play Viva Pinata forever, right?
Yeah, right. And I'm not. You might hate me for this, but Halo was pretty lighthearted too. I mean, the first one was pretty decent because you had a bunch of blood and whatnot, but it wasn't that. I don't know.
It wasn't as intense when compared to a title like Gears of War.
Yeah.
Halo definitely had its spot in the Microsoft franchise and still does, and by all means, Gears of War does. But if you look at the two communities, right now, all the Gears of War people are going insane for Gears 5.
It's coming out this week.
Yeah, this week. And I'm sure the Halo community will be going AWOL once we get closer. But, yeah, dude, I think they took a chance. I think they trusted the writing and the voice actors and the direction the game was taking because I mentioned it on the last episode. There is nothing that plays like Gears of War since Gears of War.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a very distinct feeling. It's like you know what you're playing. I mentioned this actually about when we did our Jet Set Radio episode that you know what you're playing. You know what you're getting into. It's stylistic, it's fun, and it feels right at the end of the day.
And I feel like with all the other war games out at the time, I feel like Gears of War sets the atmosphere so perfectly where you know that there's this huge onslaught of locust forces coming at you, and you know that humanity's pretty much fucked 6 ways from Sunday. So, and it reflects that on the atmosphere of the game, especially since you just encounter so many dead humans in COG, and you're just going through all this just hopelessness. That's all you're getting from it, So that was kind of the whole wrap up of Gears 3, and I wanted to talk a little bit of improvements between Gears 2 and 3. Some more things that you noticed were that the movement and the roadie run were definitely smoother in this game, albeit the screen was definitely shaky, but it was pretty damn smooth. The graphics were... go ahead.
I'm sorry, Gears 1, the little jog, the little sprint, felt super stiff in its nature, man. It was kind of hard to control in Gears 1, and Gears 2... did a great job, but Gears 3, man, it was buttery smooth. They really perfected it.
Yeah, and the camera angle and everything, so good. Yeah. And then you also have the graphics update, which the game looks phenomenal with the lighting and whatnot. New and better feeling weapons. I felt like the Lancer in this game, the Hammerburst, and the new additions of the Sawed-Off, the Retro Lancer, which is the main workhorse for the COG during the Pendulum Wars, and the new Digger, which was the one that dug underneath the ground and it popped up the explosive and just blew it up. They were just really innovative with these weapons, man. And it felt they totally just wrapped up with what the previous game had and just made them better. You know?
Yeah, I'd say so as well. The Lancer for me is probably probably my favorite out of the normal weapons to use. The Gnasher is great, but the Lancer, man, that mid to long range fight is great for closing distances and things like that. But there was something special about the Retro Lancer.
Yeah.
This game for me, in regards to weapon wise, Lancer felt great, Gnasher felt great. I don't think there was a single weapon that I thought was off or that felt worse than any previous entry.
Yeah, and then I like how each weapon had, when you have the executions, they totally revamped them. So I believe in Gears 2 you could never do a chainsaw execution, but in Gears 3 you can flip them and pretty much just fillet them like a fish, and it was like the best thing ever. It was just the most disrespect, especially when you put it up in multiplayer.
Awesome. So, that was the story. Let's talk some of our favorites. Do you have a favorite game between these two?
Definitely 2. I like 2 a lot more. My overall opinion of 3 was like, I enjoyed the story, but it was a little bit too much, and a lot of it felt like, I just feel like the typical soap opera kind of, it's like, oh, these big ass events here and there, albeit there were some good parts, but I just like 2 a lot more. It felt more grittier. I love I'm a sucker for, soldiers and cog design and whatnot. I love the way the cog look in the game. I love how they had these big set pieces with when you're traveling to land down and you have the big rigs. I love how the locusts were just pouring out of the
like
holes.
Mountainous background.
Yeah, and you look over and you see a corpse or jump on a rig and you're just like, fuck, we just lost one. Like, you felt that,
So do you think Gears 3 was not big enough? Too big? Because, I mean,
I think it was too big.
Because in regards to Halo 3, I think both of our opinion is that we like Halo 3 better than we like Halo 2.
Yeah.
And by no means is Gears 3 a bad game, but Gears 2 is definitely my favorite out of all the Gears titles at the moment, and this is before the Gears 5 launch, of course.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that this story in Gears 2 probably has the most going on. There's still 5 acts like there has been in all the titles so far, but it just feels like there's so much shit to do. Everything is so smoothed out from plot point to plot point, and it doesn't feel like you're stuck on the same mission for too long.
Yeah.
Not in regards to like the mission level, but in regards to like the plot mission. You know, you get there, you do something, and okay, now we got to back up. Now we got to do this left and right, and it doesn't get stale.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I kind of want to touch point on like the Lambent and whatnot.
Sure.
I like the way they introduced it in Gears 2 because you're in the heart of Nessus and you just see the locusts are getting their asses handed to them by these.
Yeah, and you have no idea what's going on.
You have no idea what's going on. You just see the locust just turn back, fire off a couple of hammer shots, just gets bodied by a long shot. And I like the way the Lambent looked in Gears 2 versus Gears 3. Albeit I like the Leviathan. I like how they had the Lambent like that, looking all weird and grotesque. But I didn't like how they had the weird. I don't remember what they're called. I think they're called gunkers, where it's like they sprout even more when you shoot them, and they were just such a pain in the ass. And I just like the way they looked in 2 a little bit more. They were more creepy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one, and I think it was a big shock in regards to the reveal to the player base.
Yeah.
Because I know we covered it in the first episode prematurely, but we had honestly no idea what was going on down there.
Yeah,
we thought the locusts were evil, and that was the end of the story. But it turns out they're fighting their own war down there. They need to come up. They need to surface.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about multiplayer?
Yeah, let's get into multiplayer.
Yeah. So with multiplayer, the old saying, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it." That's pretty much. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's pretty much the approach Gears of War 2 and 3 took.
Yeah, it felt, even though between the titles it felt a lot more smoother with the controls, and then I liked how in Gears 3 they had more characters to play in the multiplayer versus like the other games. So you could play the Onyx guards, because normally it was like you play as Gears Marcus in the main cast, and they kept expanding it, and now in 3 you could play as Mira, you could play as Scourge, I believe, Onyx guards, Paddock, any other ones, and I just like how they could, you just pick your favorite character and play through that, and the introduction to Horde mode. You want to go through that a little bit?
Yeah, so
because I haven't played Horde.
He has not touched Horde at all, ladies and gentlemen.
I have not. What kind of a Gears man am I?
In the 12 years that this game series has been out. So Horde mode was introduced in Gears of War 2, and it served essentially the same functionality as the Call of Duty Zombies. So Horde mode enabled the players or group of players to fight through waves and waves of locust enemies, which started off real simple with the tickers and eventually moved on to the full-size locusts. And, the fun of it was the survival aspect, seeing how far you can get level-wise, and along the way you got power-ups, power weapons, things of that nature. And it was just a fun way to burn time with friends or solo if you didn't have Xbox Live at the time.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed Horde.
I liked Horde too. Well, I've
Well-
never actually played Horde, but I have played the Gears of War 3 Beast Mode, which is pretty much like Horde, except you get to play as the Locust. And who didn't want to play as the Locust? You know, they're grotesque. You know, we want to verse humans and whatnot, going up against Coglands, you know, Gears and whatnot. But yeah, Beast Mode was essentially like Horde Mode, except you started off as like a ticker, and then you would move up to wrenches, and you could be a drone, I believe. And I think there was actually even a mod on PC. I don't know if it was actually in the game. I don't remember this, but I think there was a mod on PC somehow that you can play as a berserker, which that looked completely fun. But I like the whole premise of Beast Mode too, as well.
So, friends, family, Nightcrawlers, and
Groundwalkers.
Theron guards. Yeah, Groundwalkers especially. This has been our Gears of Lore, Episode 2. If you want to hear us cover any more Gears of War stuff, maybe a philosophical take on the characters and overarching stories or themes in the original trilogy / saga, depending on if you count Judgment or not, let us know on Twitter. Let us know on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube, Podbean, and all that good stuff.
We're
Greg,
on
you know what to
Instagram
do.
and
Yeah, on
Facebook too.
Instagram. Forgot we got one of those.
Hey-oh. But yeah, this has been the expLOREation podcast, and you know what we do. You do have to do it too. Keep the lore in expLOREation. Now, I got a couple e-holes to plug up with these bolo grenades.
You ever use a plunger on an e-hole?
Oh my god.
You just suck the look.
I'm pretty sure the toilet's an e-hole at this point when I'm done with it.
Oh, man. Well,
That poop's looking like locusts.
thanks for tuning in. This has been episode number 9.
Peace, Groundwalker.